So
Okay. You want to talk about
I'm
him?
excited. Can I give you my favorite bet of the weekend? My favorite bet of the weekend.
Please.
This thing called the Ryder Cup, obviously, is this year. Supposed to be last year, got pushed off because of Corona. The European captain is a European legend because he's won this tournament multiple times. 3-time major winner, Potty Harrington. Great. If you like golf, he's a good Instagram follow. He has a golf, I think, holes in his backyard.
Yeah.
Maybe not quite holes, but he hits it over a fence that also probably his property.
Yep.
And his dog runs and gets
And a great accent.
Great accent. And just a beloved player. People love the guy. He has played really well this year. I think sometimes when you're the captain, it's like when the big guy in the NFL knocks. It's like you're going into the Hall
David
of Fame
Baker?
almost. Yeah, it's like the crowning of your achievement as a golfer because you really accomplished by that point. It was like, Potty Harrington is right off into the sunset. You be the European captain. He finished fourth at Kiowa, guy. Fourth at Kiowa. You know why? Because what did Kiowa have some similarities to?
Wind.
Irish, British golf. Pumping wins. Crazy. Do you know who falls apart in that? Americans. Non-Texans. And we'll get into those guys. Potty Harrington to finish in the top 10. I don't think his win equity is great, but the top 10, 11-1. I put $50 on that. 11-1. This guy just finished top 5 at Kiowa. He's more comfortable over. How many times do you think he's played this course? I would guess a handful.
Didn't he drive?
He's successful in these.
I thought I saw. I could be wrong about this. It feels too long ago. There was a major event recently, maybe not a major, where I watched one of his Instagram posts. He was packing the car because he was driving. He was like, he had some little
Over
tea
there.
cakes.
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't shock me. It's typically, this is the one tournament where just older guys can just be a factor, right? We've seen Tom Watson.
Tom Watson's
won
one
at
of the. He was
59.
4-hole playoff. It's
Honestly,
one of my most favorite sport events ever.
I love Potty Harrington in the top 10, but I also think between these three guys, it wouldn't shock me if two of them top 20, and that's Stuart Sink, who's played well this year, really well, and Phil, who again played well at Kiowa. Why? Because he can do all that shit in the wind. He's not he's also an Open champion.
Stewart beat Tom Watson in a playoff.
Stuart Sink, Phil Mickelson, Potty Harrington. Do you expect them all to make the cut, or at least have a chance?
I would say
why
2 or
wouldn't
3.
they? You think Phil runs out of gas, or
No, I just tend. You give me 3 guys, especially older guys. To me, it's hard for all 3. Again, not that one's performance affects the other, but
their floor is not as high. If they are off, they can get it. Phil could shoot 80. Right. I mean, he hasn't had one of those moments, but we saw for a couple years it can happen.
Yeah.
I like Potty Harrington more than both of them, though. I like Potty Harrington. This is like his home. It'd be like, it's just you're very comfortable in this environment.
Well, another guy, an Englishman who did play well at Kiowa, and every time, I feel like he gets ignored, and I've told you this before, he is always in the mix, it feels like, is Paul Casey, who is, I think, 45-1, Paul Casey to win. And he finished, he's had some good performances. T3, it's been a while, but he's played well in the Open.
Yeah.
But that would be, I wasn't thinking of him before, but just listening to your point on Patty, I would include Paul Casey in that. I got to look up his kind of historic. He's played in a million Opens, 57 cut, 13, 10. Yeah, okay. He hasn't been T3, T11. T7. He's played a ton of these.
I like guys that are comfortable in this environment.
And like I said, I think he was 5th at Kiowa.
Well, that's why, I'm going Lee Westwood. 55-1.
I thought Lee was gonna. I thought Lee was gonna win the Stewart Sink year.
Do you think 55-1 for a guy that has win equity over in this environment? It's easy to go with the Irish and the Brits and the English. Is that the Brits all the same thing? You know what I mean? That crew of guys, but you feel good betting on them. Some of these Americans, it could unravel fast. Where these guys, the wind takes it and throws in one of these crazy bunkers, it doesn't phase them as much. When they were 10 years old, they were hitting out of those bunkers.
Another guy I had written down, John, was Tommy Fleetwood's 40-1. He's played in 6 Open championships. He missed the first 3 cuts. Since then, he's gone 27th, 12th, and then 2nd. I think if he was second, he must have. Well, that was the year after Xander was
when
T2.
He lost to Shane Lowry.
So
I think he was finished second.
How about Tommy at 40-1?
Whenever I've bet on Tommy, he's never come close.
I know.
And whenever I haven't, he's been right in the mix.
Stay away from him.
I could never time Tommy, but he has fantastic hair.
Xander's played well in the Open, T2 back in 2018. He's only played in 3, but he's made all 3 cuts. He's 18-1.
Yeah, to me, the 2 guys would be Xander and Koepka, and I think it's fair to say that like I love Xander, but he just doesn't win very often.
I know.
Where I could see them being, right there going into Sunday, Koepka, Xander on the first page of the leaderboard. Is Koepka almost kind of being overlooked?
Yeah, for you saying that this is not his speed, like he wasn't great and still was in the mix at Kiowa. Like it's okay that it's not his speed. This is nobody's speed. What wins? What's going to win the Open? 5 under, 6 under?
Yeah.
So what that it's not Brooks' speed? Can he shoot 5 under when everyone else is 5 under? Yeah, I bet he can. So yeah.
Yeah, and I was watching Golf Channel, and they were saying, early Koepka, unlike Xander and like Justin Thomas and Jordan Spieth, that were like, the Tim Lincecums of golf. Like they didn't spend there's no Jordan Spieth Corn Ferry stories. Justin Thomas spent 6 months on the corn. Koepka grinded around the world.
Yeah,
and he's played really well in the Open. So he played well at Kiowa. Like. It wouldn't shock me if we look up on Sunday and Koepka's winning by 3 or 4. I mean, he is just built to fucking win. Of all the favorites, I think Rahm's the best player in the world right now. I think he is. Actually, I think he lost his world ranking somehow last weekend, and now DJ's back to number 1. But he's definitely the hottest player in the world. At 6.5, 7-1, those odds are pretty terrible, guy.
Yeah,
I know he should be the favorite, but. Since you and I have been doing this, when has the favorite been more than double point wise? Like if he's 7.5-1 and the next starting is 16, 18-1, that's a pretty crazy gap. Usually it's like one guy's 10-1, the next guy's 12-1, the next guy's 14-1.
DJ was rolling for half a year, but
he'd be 9-1 and the next crew of guys would be 12-1.
It didn't feel like he was creating a big gap of separation between him and the next group. I wrote down, before we get to the big dog and then we'll get to some football, I wrote down Keegan 9-1 to top 10. I don't
hate that.
Yeah, I mean he was 18th, 19th, 15th. He's missed the cut a couple of times, but he's got 3 top 20s. If he can putt, I mean I feel like Keegan can handle some wind. So it comes down to his putting, but Keegan 9-1 top 10, I don't hate that.
One guy I don't hate to win. I don't know.
I love that we say not who I love outside of the first one, but who I don't hate. But that's the nature of golf betting.
Yeah, Scotty Scheffler, who
Texas guy.
They're used to playing in the wind. One thing I remember watching this thing on YouTube about Lee Trevino. He's like, I always felt really comfortable at the Open because I trained in pumping wind in Texas, where it's kind of a disadvantage for California guys, right? I guess if you grew up in the Bay Area, you might be used to it, but Southern California guys, no wind. Florida. I mean, nothing like they're used to over there. He just played well in the Scottish Open. I think he's like 45-50-1. But I think my favorite to win is Lee Westwood at 55-1. When you factor in the value, when you factor in how well he's played this year, I read that he's right outside the Ryder Cup for a guy 48. He hasn't quite. I think you got to be in like the top 8 or whatever to be a lock. He's like 13th. To me, if he were to just. Hell, if he's a top 5, they're going to pick him. But this would be a pretty big moment in his career.
All right, and now Bryson. Let's talk about Bryson before we move off of golf. 33-1. Do you like it?
Pretty nuts.
Or do you just not hate it? Or do you kind of hate it?
Well, we've never seen a number this big with him, right? Since he got big.
I tried to go back and find it. I not that I found every single one. I mean, it felt like, what was he a few weeks ago? Like wasn't he 16 recently or something like that? And that felt big. Going into Kiowa, wasn't he like 11 or 16 or something?
Yeah, remember last year and once he kind of came back big and then it was clear he was sweet, he was like consistently 10-12-1. And that felt right. Like when he plays an American tournament, there would be no tournament in the USA where he would be anything over 20-1, right? If he was 20-1, people
I could swear Kiowa started at like 18 or 16. Or does that sound crazy? It might sound high.
Well, Yeah, because he was playing kind of bad, but that's high for him.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
18-1. Remember, Justin Thomas was at the Players. I'm like, I think I'm going to throw a little money on this. This is crazy. 20-1 for that kind of crew of guys. He's 33-1, but it doesn't really feel like a great fit.
But it's
Form,
just
does it?
no. I mean, it doesn't. But is Bryson DeChambeau going to win another major?
100%.
Like, how many guys on this list will you say that? Can you say that against? Because he's in a major. It doesn't feel. I'd be interested to see if the wind really is howling. New caddy on his bag. I guess they've had one event together, right?
Did you watch the Instagram thing where the guy jumped in the pool with his bag?
No,
when they were introducing him. I mean, it was pretty cheesy.
I did not. I missed that. Not because I skipped it. I just missed it.
Yeah, you got to be careful with the amount of Bryson content that you let come into your brain. It's kind of a waste.